second coming of Jesus Christ to earth. Episode 3. Yes, this is the Mike Franzone podcast. Today we're going to conclude the first 35 verses of the Olivet Discourse. We're going to finish the 10 signs that Jesus said would mark his visible return to earth. And we're going to begin with the study of prophecy. Why study prophecy? Okay, you ready? Let's go. The signs of his second coming, Matthew 24. Our journey ends today. Someday we will look at the rest of the text, but it's going to take a long time to get through it as well. Matthew 24 is the Olivet Discourse, a sermon Jesus preaches to the disciples. The disciples even asked him 3 questions. And the sermon in the entire place, I think chapter 24 and 25, is an answer to these 3 questions. And they were this: when will these things be? What will be the sign of your coming? And what will be the end of the age? And we find that here in verse 3 of Matthew 24. And all of this brings up an important question. And the question is this: why study prophecy? Now, I'm sure some of you have heard all of these excuses. Some say, well, I'm just not interested in prophecy and it's just kind of a waste of time. Some say, I'm not going to be around, I'm going to be raptured. Why do I need to know about the future? Some say it's just too difficult for me to understand, and I just don't want to spend the time doing it. Some say I'm so preoccupied with life now, I'm just not interested in the future. And there are those who say this: how does this help me live a Christian life today? Let me preface everything with this. As God's preacher, called by God, I am called by God to preach the entire whole counsel of God, Acts 20:27. So let me give you 5 quick reasons why we're to preach on prophecy and why we should preach on prophecy. And the first one is what I call the prominence of prophecy. Now think about this. Out of the 216 chapters in the 27 New Testament books, there are 318 references to the second coming of Jesus Christ. And think about this. 1 out of every 30 verses in the New Testament speak about the second coming. Think about this. For every prophecy about the birth of Christ, there is 8 verses speaking about the second coming of Jesus. How can someone call prophetic teaching unimportant? Matter of fact, out of the 27 books in the New Testament, 23 of them speak about prophecy. Should we just skip the 23? Second reason we study prophecy: the protection of prophecy. What did Jesus say in Matthew 24, verse 4 and 5, and then later on in the chapter? And what did Paul say? He warned us about this. Prophecy protects us from deception. Deception will be the order of the day. Paul said that. Jesus said that. The Bible teaches that very plainly. And when we study prophecy, we understand what it means, how to protect us, rather, from being deceived. Now, listen to 2 Corinthians chapter 11. Here it is. Listen to this. For such are false prophets, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. And no wonder, for Satan himself transforms himself into an angel of light. Therefore, it's no great thing if his ministers also transform themselves into ministers of righteousness, whose end will be according to their works. So he said Satan comes to deceive, and he deceives by transforming himself into an angel of light, looking really good. His false apostles, his false deceitful workers, these ministers of righteousness, which are actually not ministers of righteousness, they all come as beautiful. Satan does not come to you as an ugly thing. He comes as an angel of light. He appears beautiful. He appears all dressed to the nines. He sounds wonderful and beautiful language. It sounds so truthful. And by the way, they love to attack the credibility of God. He looks very good, very wise, but his purpose is to deceive you, to lie to you, and in time, they will ultimately destroy you. But the study of prophecy protects us from that deception. Now, number 3, the preparation of prophecy. 1 Thessalonians 5:4. But you, brethren, are not in darkness so that day should overtake you as a thief. Prophecy prepares you for the now and for the future. It gives you wisdom, understanding, and discernment. How we live today prepares you for the future. And this is all what prophecy teaches. Number 4, the practicality of prophecy. Some treat prophecy only as an intellectual exercise, and they say it has no practical value. But what prophecy does, it changes what you believe. And if you can change what you believe, it changes your worldview. It motivates you to evangelize, to witness to others. It motivates your church to get out and reach out. It motivates you to ditch the status quo, all right? A lot of churches are stuck in the status quo. I heard and read this week that some pastor was asked that question. He said, Pastor, how would you define the status quo? He said, well, that's Latin for the mess we're in. Status quo churches stink. Status quo churches have no freshness. Status quo churches take up space. But prophecy motivates us to reach people, to grow, to build buildings, to attract people to Jesus Christ. And prophecy motivates us to live a holy life, a life of righteousness. Prophecy is the driving force that motivates us to live holy, that motivates us to live righteously. And the Bible is filled with those kinds of things. And something else, let me add to that. The study of prophecy cleans us up, and it also helps us get our priorities right. What's our priorities? Let me get some of this Black Rifle coffee. Now watch. What is really important? Don't major on the minors. Prophecy helps me not major on the minors. Churches should be slaying Goliaths and not wrestling midgets. You go to James chapter 4, verse 1 through 6, 1 Corinthians 3 through 1 through 5, and it talks about how the churches have people in it that are fussing and fighting like little babies. They fuss and they fight. I mean, they can't get what they want. They act like spoiled brat babies because of pride and arrogance, but prophecy helps you and I to grow up. Everybody wants to be a chief, but nobody wants to be an Indian. They all want to be bosses, but they don't want to submit. Everybody wants to sing a solo, as one man said, but nobody wants to sing in the choir. Prophecy motivates you to get your priorities right. Okay, why study prophecy? Number 5. Wow. The prize of prophecy. Revelations 1:3, Revelations 22:7. Revelation, the book of Revelation, is the only book that promises you a reward if you read it and if you listen to it. There is a blessing for those who read Revelation, and there is a blessing to those who actually listen to it. This great event is coming. Jesus Christ is coming to earth. I'll put up again those 10 signs here underneath this video. But today, we'll finish it up. We're going to look at number 8, 9, and 10. All right? Verse 26 through 28 in the book of Matthew 24, the 8th sign, and that is the sign of disclosure. I'll read it to you right here. Verse 26. Therefore, if they say to you, look, he's in the desert, do not go out. Or look, he's in the inner rooms, do not believe it. Let me stop here. People will be hiding and running from the Antichrist. Christians and Jews will be running for their lives, especially that last 3.5 years when the Antichrist proclaims himself as God, the abomination of desolation. And because of that, they'll be scared and they'll be very vulnerable. And people will say, he's in the desert, actually in the wilderness. Don't believe it. He's in the secret room, the secret chamber. Don't believe it. Jesus said here, he's coming visibly. But think about it. You're starving, you're hungry, you're running. You want to find Jesus, you want Jesus to save you. It's possible that you could be deceived. You go out there in the wilderness, he's not there. Antichrist is there. You go into the secret chamber, he's not there. The Antichrist is there. Sad. Jesus warns us. Verse 27 says this, For as the lightning comes from the east and flashes to the west, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. He said that means as the lightning comes from the east and is visible all the way to the west. All right, Jesus is coming and every eye will see him. In Acts chapter 1, when Jesus finished, he had resurrected, he revealed himself, he taught for about 40 days to the disciples, and then he ascended into heaven. The disciples are around him, and he's descending up into heaven in the clouds. And the angels say this, two angels, they say, look at, guys, don't worry. As you see him go up, he will come down in the same way. He's going to come down big, and he's going to come down bold. It'll be like a flash of lightning across the sky from the east and the west. You draw a line, that's forever, by the way. That's a straight line. Revelation 19 says he's coming with an army, and many of you watching tonight will be in that army. He returns with, his return will be public. It'll be unmistakable. And then verse 28 says this, for whoever or wherever the carcass is, there the eagles will be gathered together. There's many definitions of this. This is what I think it says here. Wherever the carcass, the dead body is, then the eagles will be gathered. And again, I think it means this. Think it means judgment is ripe. Judgment is overripe. It's ready. And Jesus comes to suddenly finish it off. But there's also an allusion here to Revelation 19 that says when Jesus comes again and destroys his army, all the birds of prey come down and devour and eat the bodies. Well, maybe a little bit of both. Now, that was number 8, disclosure. Number 9 is what I call distinguishing. And why do I call it that? Because it means to recognize there is a difference between something. We're going to see a difference between the rapture, all right, when they're caught up in the air, and the second coming, which is visible. Now, let's go to verse 29 of Matthew 24. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Let's break down verse 29. It says immediately after the tribulation. When Jesus comes, we're at the very end, the last day of the 3.5 years. Jesus comes. No holding back, no waiting, and he comes immediately. All of this happens suddenly and so quickly. You could be walking down the street, all right, looking for a place to have coffee, and suddenly Jesus appears. You could be watching TV, playing soccer, and suddenly Jesus comes. It's that quick. It will happen suddenly. He says immediately after the tribulation of those days. But verse 29 says something else. There's going to be cosmic disturbances. It says the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light. Now think about that. Earth would experience, if the sun is darkened, Earth will experience a rapid decline in temperature. And there'll be no more photosynthesis. The plants will die. And if the plants die, then oxygen will be decreased. And for the first 8 minutes, the effects would be minimal. But they get worse after that first 8 minutes. And see, that's how long it takes the sunlight to come from the sun to the earth, 8 minutes. But when that happens, the sun will be darkened. You go to Revelation 16, the Bible says one of the judgments of the vile judgments, the bold judgments, is God is going to darken the Antichrist kingdom and darken his capital city. And then the moon reflects the sun, and the moon will be gone as well. And what else? In verse 29, see, the stars will fall from heavens. Now, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. The stars is the Greek word astare, which means asteroid. If I went to Revelation chapter 8, verse 10 and 11, and matter of fact, let me just go there right now. How's that? I've got it. I think I got it marked here, way in the back of Revelation chapter 8. These are the trumpet judgments that will be coming during the tribulation period on the earth. But listen to what he says. This is the third trumpet judgment. Then the third angel sounded, and a great star fell from heaven, burning like a torch. It fell on the third of the rivers and on the springs of water, and the name of the star is Wormwood. A third of the waters became wormwood, and many died from the water because it was made bitter. This is what's going to happen. Now, the third judgment. I think the stars will fall from heaven. I think it's either an asteroid or a meteorite. Let me show you the difference. An asteroid is a rocky or metallic celestial body. A meteorite is a fragment of an asteroid. So you can see what we mean. And we know asteroids have hit the Earth, mega big ones, have caused all kinds of explosions. Something's going to happen because the powers of the heavens will be shaken. And that simply means this. The word shaking means to agitate. I believe the entire universe will experience agitation, shaken, all shook up, as Elvis would say. It's going to shake everything. When Jesus comes to earth, the entire universe is going to be affected. Matter of fact, if I went to Hebrews chapter 1, verse 1 through 4, the Bible says that God upholds all things by his word. In our galaxy, there are 400 billion stars in the Milky Way alone. So think about this. Look at the trillions of galaxies that we know are out there. God holds it all together. But when Jesus comes, everything's going to be shaken. When God lets go, it will get crazy and the universe will begin to break down. Luke said this in Luke 21. Luke is commenting on the sermon, and he adds a little bit extra that we don't see in some of the other versions. Luke 21, listen to what he says. Expounds on Matthew 24. And there will be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars, on the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them from fear, the expectation of those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Now when these things begin to happen, look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption draws near. Verse 26 said, men's hearts failing for fear. Men will expire. People will drop dead. When Jesus comes back, so much is going to be happening. The glory is so great. And the Greek word fear is phobos. It means exceedingly fearful. It means to be terrified. It means to be frightened to the max. Whenever that happens and the signs begin to come, people actually drop dead of heart attacks. Now, Luke 21:11, I'm going to add that in this whole mix. Listen to this, Luke 21:11. And there will be great earthquakes in various places, famines and pestilence. There will be fearful sights, great signs from the heavens. Fearful sights, great signs from the heaven. Fearful sights is a Greek word phobotron. Now, we can translate it as extremely fearful, terrifying, but the Greeks use the word to describe monsters. You could say monstrous things. These fearful sights are described as something monster-like, monstrous things, monsters. Matthew 24:37 says this, as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Now, what happened in the days of Moses? I've spoke about this before. The days of Noah were violent, evil on steroids, angelic incursions, Genesis chapter 6, beginning in verse 1 through 4, demonic manifestations. The Bible says that the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and Nephilim, giants, were born to them, the evil product of human DNA and angel DNA. And we know that monstrosities, because we know that the Nephilim did weird things, as some of the Book of Giants says in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the Book of Enoch, which they're not in the canon, I understand that, but they're history and give us a little perspective. Monstrous things. It was a horrible time. These major giants, evil incursions by the angels, the fallen angels. These are the fearful sights. My question is this, are they coming back? Think about that. Great signs in the heavens. And I talked last week about this, UFOs. I want to someday do a really special time. I know I've waited for so long because there's so much involved. I want to do something special about the UFOs. The celestial and the terrestrial will intersect. The spiritual realm and the physical realm will collide. Fearful sights. Now, Verse 31, Jesus said this, and I want you to hold on to this here. And he will send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they will gather together his elect from the four winds from one end of heaven to the other. Wow. God sends his angels. When Jesus comes back, one of the things he does, he sends his angels out to separate the sheep from the goat, the real from the false. And he separates the wheat from the tares. The wheat is real and the tares are false. True believers from the false believers. Now, why? Because no lost person will enter into the 1,000-year messianic kingdom. Not one lost person will enter into that 1,000 millennial reign on earth. God knows who the real believers are, but Satan also knows who the real believers are as well. Now, that brings us to number 10. This is the end. Number 10, verse 32 through 35. Let me read this, if I will, from my Bible. Now learn this parable from the fig tree. When its branches already become tender and puts forth its leaves, you know that summer is near. So you also, when you see all of these things, know that it is near, is at the door. Assuredly I say to you, this generation will by no means pass away till all these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will be by no means pass away. Wow. Verse 32 is a parable. Well, let me just give you a simple definition of a parable. It's an earthly story with a heavenly meaning. An earthly story with a heavenly meaning. Know the parable of the fig tree. Now, when I read the Bible in the Old Testament and New Testament, only one country. He's speaking about Israel. Israel is the fig tree. And he says, when its branches bud and the leaves begin to sprout, you know summer is near. You see, things die in the wintertime. And in the spring, things begin to come back. And then towards right before summer, branches bud, the leaves begin to sprout, and you know life is beginning. Life is beginning in the spring, and you're going to see the fulfillment in the summer. Summer's coming. What does this mean? Listen, I was telling my church this Sunday, man, I don't have, I'll do this at a later date, but the Bible is filled so much with dates, and they just show you exactly when things are going to happen. I believe this, so I'm going to skip to the main point. I believe Israel is a fig tree, and it became a nation May 14th, 1948, in fulfillment of prophecy. It came alive. The branches budded. The leaves sprouted. Ezekiel 37, he said, Ezekiel said, I saw these dry bones. And pretty soon these dry bones came up, and then flesh came on them, and sinew and blood and all of that, and they became alive. That's Israel. That's the nation. That's the rebirth of the nation of Israel, May 14th, 1948. I believe this is what he's speaking about here. And then he says here, when you see all this happen, you know that it is near, it's at the doors. This is the countdown to the second coming. May 14th, 1948 is the countdown to the second coming. It's at the door, like the Domino's pizza guy, right? My wife says, yes, he's at the door. Now, watch this. I'm giving you the short version, okay? As surely I say to you, this generation will by no means pass away till all of these things take place. This generation that sees these signs, that experience even the birth pains. We're experiencing those birth pains now. They just get worse during the tribulation time. A biblical generation is 40 years, 70 years, or 100 years. Now, why do I say 100 years? Go back to studying Abraham, and you see he points out a generation, biblically, can be 100 years. What am I trying to say? From 1948 to 2048 is 100 years. I believe that he's saying that within this space of time, Jesus Christ is coming again. Now, wait a minute. I'm not setting a date. This is what I believe, that he's giving you. Within this generation that began in 1948, there is in this particular generation that I believe if I live into my 90s, I could see this. But it could happen way before 2048. There is not one thing that needs to be fulfilled for the rapture to take place. The rapture could take place anytime. Tomorrow, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, within that time frame, who knows? But the rapture will take place, and when it takes place, again, that countdown is going now. There's going to be 7 years of tribulation time, maybe even a little pause between the rapture and the beginning of the 7 years. I'm not sure. But something happens. There are more signs. There are no more signs that you need for the rapture. It could come at any time. I'm saying Jesus is coming back, and we need to be ready as God's people and the Church of Jesus Christ. It's so exciting that, if I can live to be 75 or 80 or 85, Jesus could come back during that time. And many of you watching today, I know my children and my grandchildren and maybe my great-grandchildren will experience the second coming of Christ. Very, very possible. I believe what the Bible says. Thank you so much for watching. I'll have some notes here at the bottom. I'll have the 10 signs and some other things as well. Again, thank you for watching the Mike Franzone podcast. Please share if you will. Like it, and that really helps if you like it. And subscribe. Good night, and God bless.